I'm thinking I'm too dumb to accomplish this. And just by doing that, you already start distancing yourself a little bit.
Nice.
Boom.
What was this you went to? What was this?
No, I was listening to The Confidence Gap on my plane
Okay.
ride back. So I listened to the first couple hours of it. And I got one takeaway, which is good, but I still prefer reading over the Audible. Like I signed up for Audible and I barely use it. I have to force myself to use it. I just like reading over listening.
Walter wouldn't let that book onto our list of 52 because it's like the Shark Tank guys, like, bro, what was his,
that's Damon John's
Damon Johns, yeah.
The Power of Broke.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Good, I love it. I
mean, it was originally on the list. I did like that book.
We took it
but
Confidence Gap. It's like, no fucking confidence gap. Get that shit out of here. It's like
this title's just not right.
It's like Shaq when there's a bad shot. Just slot it out.
Welcome back to the 100 Millionaires Podcast. My name is Walter Murillo, and we are talking about confidence and regrets today. So, Mike Shine, bring us in.
Hey, massive income from passive income. I'm really focused on this. And my book of the week was the book of the week, which is Retire Young, Retire Rich by Robert Kiyosaki. And boy, I recommend this book highly, highly, highly.
I agree with you. It's like we were just talking about, probably the best book that the Rich Dad, Poor Dad community put out. Mitch Jorsky, what is your phrase?
Gotta organize and collect.
Hell yeah. So, Mitch, you were away this weekend. You were up in New York. What was the celebration?
I mean, I don't know if it was a celebration.
Right, I was going to say.
I'm like, what's the better word for this? Commemorating 20 years of 9/11. So I'm pretty sure everyone this weekend kind of recognized that was going on. But yeah, I went up to New York to spend some time with friends and, family, and went to the Mets Yankees game.
It looked like you had a good time.
It was awesome.
I saw the TikTok.
Here's what's funny. That TikTok pretty much went viral. It's about to crack 10,000 views, and all it is me recording a blockchain like crypto ad on the Mets scoreboard, and then ironically my buddy yelling a derogatory anti-Yankees chant in the background. I was like, this is what's going to go viral? Of course.
The irony is it's never our good stuff. It's a ridiculously visually and auditory entertainment that they're just like, whoa, yeah, watch that again. So, Mitch, you had an emotional experience, and you were just sharing that with us before the podcast. So I want to bring you back to that. You were in the tower 20 years ago.
Indeed.
And you had a feeling of, it's been 20 years.
Can't believe it's been 20 years.
What was that experience of like looking at yourself and being like, okay, like what, why haven't I accomplished more? Or, have I accomplished what I thought I would have 20 years from now? Like what was going through your head there?
I mean, I guess this is the joy of growth, because my initial reaction was anger on what I've done with the last 20 years, considering that in a way they're a gift. I mean, pretty much every year is going forward, and just, I don't know, felt like I should have accomplished way more than I have, and I wanted to accomplish way more. I had certain goals and sites where I wanted to be at this age in life, and don't get me wrong, life is good. Like my life is effing awesome, but want more. So at first, I got angry, but then I have grown enough and have realized how important gratitude is, that I switched gears and started being grateful for, what's occurred over the last 20 years. But the big realization I had, and it's kind of that realization you hear when people talk about, they talk to like elderly people, like, in their last days, and it's always what they regret not doing. It's not, and like, here's what's messed up. Like, a lot of them, like, you don't even hear them say things in regards to like, sometimes even like, I regret this, that, and the other thing about my like family. Like they like, no, I regret not trying to do X. And I think, I said it to you before we went live, if you truly want to do something and it's, moral, legal, and ethical, then go F and do it. Because if you don't, you're going to look back and you're going to regret not trying.
Yeah, and I think my response was that this book, Retire Young, Retire Rich, really addresses that, really says, go for it. But something that I don't know why I always come back to it with Brenda is Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
You know, when Scrooge wakes up the next day and asks the boy, what day is it? And then he goes, it's still Christmas. It's still Christmas. So Mitch, you're extremely young and it's still Christmas. So you got plenty of time to go get it.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's
I
never
like
too late.
thinking of it that way. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Mitch.
I just say it's never too late. I mean, there's people that start businesses when they're 70. I mean, the ultimate story is Colonel Sanders, right?
Yeah, right. I was going to say that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. It's funny because we can convince ourselves that it's never too late, but the truth is it is. Like there are some things that you can't go back and do at this point. And if you tried to do them, it wouldn't work. There's some opportunities are gone. 2008 is not here anymore. And 2008 won't come back. Like the next market adjustment will be different. It will be completely different. So all the thinking about 2008 and 9 and 10 and 12, and people are like, oh, when it gets like that again, I'm going to crush it. Well, it'll never be like that again. It will not be that opportunity.
You might be waiting forever. You never know. I mean, the market, as the saying goes, the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, to wrap all that up, the biggest thing is fear. Like everything we just talked about. People don't do something because of fear, plain and simple. They're scared of what people think. They're scared if they'll fail. They're scared if they're going to go broke. And I mean, everything that I don't want to say regret, but I look back on and I'm like, damn it. It was fear. It was not buying a bunch of Bitcoin when I was cash strapped, even though I knew it was the buy of the freaking century when it was at 3,800. It's, just there's so many things, with not taking that risk. And I think it's more about, figuring out what's the worst that could happen, even if this did blow up.
So Retire Young, Retire Rich, he retired at 47 and his wife Kim was 37. So I can't do that. So
still got a shot.
I'm still telling young people who I talk to, like I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said, hey, you could still do this. And their plan was only a 10-year plan. And they did it in like 9-point-something years. They crushed it with businesses and with real estate. And I feel like I have the advantage though, because I'm going to live to 150. So I still got plenty of time too. So I'm just, crushing it.
And that's like
Mike's entering the top of the fourth inning.
There's a balance to it where you look at, I've got plenty of time, and that can make you feel calm and confident and grateful. But then there's another side where you have to look at it and say, I may not. Like, what if I had to accomplish something, and this was my last year, like what would be the one thing I want to accomplish that would really make me say, okay, I can leave the planet. I'll be fine with it. And if next year comes around and I'm still here, I'm going to come up with a better idea. I'll come up with something bigger, something better. Yeah. But you've got to live in both worlds, right? Like you got to be able to look back and be like, you know what? It's okay. I've accomplished quite a bit, and that's pretty good. And look forward and say, I can accomplish more because I've gotten this far. I'm a different person. I've accomplished, I've grown. But then also look forward and just be like if this was the last day, and every day, if you look at every day as the last day over here, it's like, if this was my last day, like, how could I crush this? Like, how would I want to spend this? And what's crazy to me is some people totally say they would do absolutely nothing. They would, to spend it with their spouse, or they'd go on vacation, or they'd rob a bank or something stupid. And to me, I'm just like, if this is my last day, I'm going to crush it. Like, I'm going to go have some impact. I'm going to go and, maybe like Mitch was saying, create that viral video, or, impact somebody's life, or, line up to, if I'm still here, October 22nd, I'll be at the 100 Millionaires Summit rocking the stage, right? Like we're going to have a bigger impact. Yeah. I don't know if I'll wake up that day, but if I do, you better believe it's got to be nuts.
Well, I took it sort of a different way because, again, back to the book, I just got excited about all the stuff I'm doing. So all the worry kind of went away. So there are things, I'm in some deals right now, and obviously you wake up, sometimes you're like, oh, is this going to work out or whatever? But with that attitude, and actually it's confirmed by what Mitch was just saying, just go for it and just, live it. That there's like Robert Kiyosaki even says that he was like planning on opening 10 businesses, knowing that 9 of them would fail. And he was fine with that. And he was
Well,
fine.
that's like that's almost like, a penny stock trader. I know 9 of these stocks are going to do nothing, but the one that's going to do something is going to, 15, 20x, and therefore I will be profitable.
That was even in the book. I don't think it was a penny stock trader. It was an options trader, but it was a friend of his. Same exact thing. He said 19 out of 20 are going to fail. But the one, he's never gotten up to the 19, but he did have one streak where he had 14 failed trades in a row, but he traded in such a way that 15th crushed it. And then he starts again.
And that's the big key. You got to make sure that, you have enough upside where, it offsets those losses. I mean, that's a big problem for a lot of people. And it was also something that held me back in my trading days was, cutting those winners short, because it's just like when you're right, you got to let that right pay you. There was an options.
What does that mean? Cutting it short. So you would sell when you got.
Yeah. So here's a phrase that might help. There was this, trading coach from back in the day when I was learning how to trade options and everything. And he used to say, don't shoot your winning horse in the back of the head before it gets across the finish line. And it was, but
put that in the chat.
But I mean, think about it. It makes you remember, like, don't shoot your winning horse in the back of the head.
Put that as the title for this one, Walter.
Oh my God. Jareena's going to hate me. She's going to look at that out of context and be like, Mitch, we are no longer friends.
It's true though. Like I can totally see that, because this thing is about to win. And I've done this plenty of times. In fact, I've sold real estate last year, the year before, the year before that. And I look at what the market did last year, where it jumped, 15% in real estate. That's 15% I could have made on, $300,000 in sales, right? Like that adds up to an extra $45,000 that I could have had in my pocket. Nice. And that's on the average side. It could have been more, it could have been an extra 100 grand. Yeah. Because some of these properties were nicer than the average property. So it's, like you got to look at it and just think, okay, like that's why we buy stuff that cash flows, but at the same time, you have to have an operating company, and our operating company is flips. We make our money from renovating properties, selling it to people who want to pay more than we would pay. And that's how we service the community. So we've got to do our flipping business, but sometimes we look at it and we're like, man, it's almost like mining gold, right? When gold is going up, it's like mining Bitcoin, right? Like all the Bitcoin miners are like, shit, maybe we should have held. We would have made more money. But they needed dollars to pay for the electricity bills,
Yeah, that's awesome.
So there's in Rod Khleif, like all the big guys who went and flipped all those houses early in their careers, they say it. All the syndicators, every single one of them was a flipper. Every single one of them started off flipping real estate, and they needed the operating company. And then later on, they look at it and they're like, oh man, like I should have held some of those. But it's like, you never would have grown if you held them all. You can't hold on to everything. You got to let some of these go. And it's tough, but you can't let them go too fast.
I want to talk about expanding minds, because I think that first of all, the book that I just said, I'm sorry, I keep going back to it.
You just say it again.
Awesome book.
Retire Young, Retire Rich really talks about the first thing that he says is your mindset. And mindset is something that we talk about all the time on the 100 Millionaires Wealth Principles, Saturday morning at 10 a.m.
Be there, be square.
Yeah. But we talk about it because most of what we're doing is not the teaching people the actual steps to buying property. It's just getting their mindset to expand so that they can see $1 million as something that's easily attainable. And, if we got everybody who listened to be that, I can get $1 million, then doing all the practical steps is easy. And before we got on today, the three of us were talking about
our mental blocks.
Yeah, our mental blocks, because Robert Kiyosaki talks about the super rich are making $1 million a month. And I couldn't wrap my head around that. I can wrap my head around, 100,000 maybe, but but a million a month. So that's one expanse. Okay, there are people out there. So if you're listening to this, and for you two guys as well, there are people out there making $1 million a month right now.
Yep.
And then I want to just tell you a quick story. My brother has a guy that he used to know who got very successful in real estate. Like his family business was real estate, and then he spread off from it. So this weekend, according to my brother, he took 8 of his friends in his private jet over to Ireland to stay at his private castle to play golf on his private golf course that nobody plays on except for maybe the groundskeeper when he's not there, because he lives in Miami. And yeah, so that was like, I heard this story like on a Sunday, and on Tuesday or Wednesday, it was still in my head. I was like, what? He took a private jet. He took it to Ireland, to his castle, to play golf on a course that there's nobody else on except for the 8 of them. I was just blown away. Yeah. So that's
another level. I mean, and
yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that because, it's like, what roles do you want to play in your life and all that stuff. And, I want to spoil my friends and family. And it's just like, my whole big thing is I want to be in a position where I can take the whole crew to Vegas, everything's taken care of, just show up, you know what I mean? And it's like, can I pull that off? I mean, maybe I could now, but I definitely feel it for a while. I want to do it when it's like not even a thing, and I can go, next level. We got the penthouse suite, all that stuff. And
found your why.
Well, that's one of the many things I'm working towards.
Why, but I don't think it's one that'll push them hard enough.
Well, right? I mean, I got several whys. I got buy my mom a retirement home, but the point is like, it's all those levels. So like, that Mets Yankees game, like I bought the tickets and basically, pay for the food and beer and stuff. And I was just like,
yeah, that's
like,
awesome.
Guys, I want to do this, just be there. That's all you got to do. Just be there. You know what I mean? And it's like, I want to be able to do more of that, but that level you were just talking about, your brother's friend, like that's like the pinnacle.
Yeah.
If I could be there someday, that'd be awesome. I don't know if I even aspire.
Jesse Itzler, who sold like marquee jets to Warren Buffett, living with a SEAL.
Good play.
He said that too. He does every year. They go to the Bahamas takes like 20 of his friends and just
awesome
flies them all over there to the Bahamas and hangs out.
I want to be able to do that.
Yeah.
It's cool. And this is what I was getting at, Mitch, is that motivation, like that level of why is nice, but it's so financial, right? It's so financial, and it also has a negative side to it where you feel like it's taking away from the game you're playing, right? So every time you do it, it's pulling away from the ability to do it again. So it, like, when you have a why that is based on an activity, based on a result you want to accomplish that throws off money, then it becomes significantly easier to have those moments. And this is something that I face, right? Like I'm always, I want to create the most amazing life for Dorina, for my business partners, for, my friends. But at the same time, I've got to build something that allows me to do that, right? I've got to go and have this massive goal that can accomplish all of the money projects and the lifestyle that I want to create for other people, because otherwise I'm just focused on the money. So every time I go and I give something to somebody, I'm losing something. So you can't be focused on the money. It's actually got to be a bigger why, like a big accomplishment that throws off money. And this is what Elon Musk is. This is why he's so wealthy. This is why he's built such great companies, is because he focuses on where is the money going to be and what is it that needs to be accomplished to attain that money. And then he goes after this and he always just ties in how to get paid along the way. So like along the way, he's making sure that as he's building this, there's some sort of like monetization, and he's focused on that main piece, because that's easy to focus on, right? It's a lot more fun, right? It's exciting to talk about. But if you just talk about like the money, it's hard to pull a community around you. But if you focus on like a goal, you can get employees easily. You can get, volunteers. You can get so many people to come in and move that mission forward. You can get your clients to become advocates, because they're all thinking about this same crazy accomplishment that you're looking to create, not thinking about you building wealth so you can take your friends out.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and that's the reason. The only reason I pick on it is I've started the same way. I was like, hey, millionaires, I'm going to make you rich. and then shifted to 100 millionaires who are helping 100 millionaires. Like we're becoming something. Like we're building a community that is something that can allow other people to move forward. And even that may not have all the momentum, all the juice behind it that I'm looking for, right? Like Grant Cardone took freaking decades to figure out 10X.
Yeah.
So we may not be there yet, but this is something with at least some juice behind it
Well,
that other people can pick up.
I like it because I think a lot of times people talk about the money, and our podcast is called the 100 Millionaires Podcast. But you're right, there has to be some activity that's more, and then it's just throwing off the money as just a
Consolation prize.
added benefit. Yeah, so that's really good.
We say it, we know, like, we're entrepreneurs, we solve problems, and the richest people solve the biggest problems. We know these things like logically, but then when it comes to implementation into our lives, we're like, so how do I make enough money this month to pay the bills? Or how do I make enough money to buy that next investment? Because for us, it's not the bills. We always have another investment we want to acquire. There's a certain amount of money we want to go and put our assets into. So it's like, we're setting those goals, but what about that bigger goal that, like, emotionally would feel really good? Logically, we do know that would be the better goal to set, but there's some sort of disconnect between, am I capable of doing it? Would that really pay me? Would that make enough to justify this? How long would it take to actually accomplish? And, if I get there, would it be worth it? And I think that's where a lot of the regrets come from. Like Mitch was talking about earlier, is like all of these thoughts of what I could have built, what I should have built, what I should have done.
We saw a video once of this couple. It was a documentary, but they bought like thousands and thousands of square miles of Patagonia. And I think it was actual founders of Patagonia, the brand Patagonia.
Just bought it.
And they bought it because people were going to develop, or they didn't want to. And then they built like a house like down there in South America. And it's just like, that would be so amazing if you could save some of the planet. But you just had so much money that it was just that you can buy thousands of square miles of tracts of land. I mean, I know it's cheap if it's undeveloped. I've been to South America, and you can find places that are out there
Let's get it.
middle of nowhere, but I'll have to find the documentary, but it was really cool to watch. And they had a big why. That was kind of the thing. It was just neat. So yeah.
With something big enough, you'll push in a crazy manner. And I was actually, last night I was up till like 6 o'clock in the morning. It was embarrassingly irresponsible, but there I was, reading books and studying, and it felt really good. Like I was just really taking some really good knowledge. Everything seemed to be hitting me like perfect. It was just like going into the right places, the stuff I was looking for. And I found that, as I was going through the 38 letters from John D. Rockefeller to his son, J.D. Rockefeller, the concept of one, honesty. He talks about, like, you've got to be honest. He says you got to want a goal. You got to have a goal that you want, and you also have to evaluate where you are in life. Like, you have to have a very clear understanding of where you are, so you have the tools and understand that you may need to get more tools or different tools, or use the tools you already have and sharpen them up. And then you have to also have a goal that is big. And he's like, you've got to have something out there, like something big enough that you want to accomplish. And it's okay if you don't have all the tools today. Like you can adjust those along the way, but you have to have kind of these two reference points so that you can actually go and do something and like accomplish a goal. And he said, a man without a goal is a useless waste of life. And JD Rockefeller is like, no pansy. He can be pretty tough with some of the stuff he says, but like that concept of having the goal and then having an awareness of where you are, but being okay with it, not looking at it and saying, oh man, I'm only here, but like looking at it and saying, these are resources. Like what I've got is something that I could use to get to where I want to go. And then I don't know if I'm able to remember the other, like the really profound piece that I found last night, but it was somewhere along the lines of knowing that there is going to be war. There is going to be competition. There is going to be somebody who comes along who wants something different from what you want. And if your will is stronger, you will win. And we look at this world, it's all split and divided, right? Now, obviously, as an abundant person, we want to say that the world is all, coming together and it's peaceful and becoming a better place. But we can also look at the past and say maybe in the past, yesterday, there was some serious division around, blue and red. There was some serious division around right and wrong. And, who should be doing what should be being bought. We got a freaking another multi-trillion dollar stimulus coming through. We could look at that and say, there's opinions that are like, yes, it's the greatest thing ever. And then there's other opinions that are saying it's going to destroy not just the middle class, so that's already gone, but it's going to destroy the poor, or it's going to wipe them out. They're going to be literally living off of the government benefits for the next 5 years, because now the dollar is so wiped out, so destroyed. They're saying 5% inflation over the next 5 years, 5% per year for the next 5 years, 25% inflation.
I mean,
man,
that's easily believable. It could be higher.
That's on the basket of goods, right? That's on the basket of goods, which is a shit way to evaluate inflation. On assets, it will be higher. It absolutely will be higher. You'll see it on Bitcoin, right? You'll see it on real estate.
Continue.
The bubble has to continue. It can't go down, right? When you inflate the dollar, you inflate the standard currency with which we all value everything. It's got to go up, and assets will go up higher because there's less of them. It's just supply and demand.
Did a little research. There's a documentary called 180 Degrees South. It's actually the founders of North Face, who
Nice.
not Patagonia, and they it's a cool documentary, but it's just another person's why and what people are doing, and it's kind of neat to see. I just want to expand everybody's mind so that when we think of like having hundreds of millions of dollars, that it's just something that is not so far away from us, just something that we can easily attain. So
That's our struggle, right? Like you and I were talking about how to make that $1 million a month. Like how do we feel comfortable with $1 million a month? How do we feel like, because like I know, Ron and I are somewhere at the, I'll say 50 to 80,000 a month gross. It's not, we don't keep it all, right?
nice.
So we've accomplished these big numbers, these big swings, and I've had big shots where it was 300,000 in a month, and I've seen we had acquisitions where it was 1.5 million in a month, but we don't acquire like that, consistently. And I think about it, and it's like, man, like what would that look like? Like what would that kind of acquisition level look like, where we're picking up that much equity every single month? Like that's insanity to me.
Sam Zell. Isn't that like that kind of land? Or even Robert Kiyosaki talking about just picking up, he has businesses, and it reminded me of you, Walter, because he's got the coaching business, he puts out books, and he's also got real estate, and he likes real estate better than like stocks, because he calls it 0% money versus 20% money versus 50% money. So if you have a job, you're giving 50% to the government. If you're selling stocks, that's you're giving 20% because of capital gains to the government. And then he calls passive income real estate 0% money. You get to keep all that money, and it's just so awesome. It's just
it's the
I
best money on the
that's why I
planet.
say that's why I was sorry to interrupt, but that's why I was saying I was getting excited about the projects I have, because it's funny that Mitch, the first thing you said when we got on today is that you would take more risks and do more things. I'm in the middle of things, and I'm just excited about them now. And it was like the universe. It was like the perfect time to say, "Hey, you've got all these opportunities going. Don't be nervous. Be excited. This is life. No matter what happens, we're living it. We're not going to be on our deathbed having regrets. We're going to be looking back and saying, wow, you remember when we did that? That was fun. That kind of thing. Yeah. So awesome.
That's the goal. And I don't know that anybody gets to go to their deathbed and have no regrets. I don't think you get out of here without them. It could be
to just have
small,
a short
right?
list.
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea is just to have a shorter list and, accomplish, like be able to, like you said, look back and be like, yeah, I crushed that. I'm glad I did it.
One of my goals is also that I don't have a deathbed, that I live my life and one night I just go to sleep. And so there never was a deathbed. And that would be, one of the things that we were talking about, the intermittent fasting and Dr. Goldhammer, is not just living longer life, but it's having a good death, like where you enjoy your life right up to the end, and then you just go to sleep and on to the next adventure. On to the next.
I'm with you, Mike. But not too soon. I remember a couple weeks ago, I had COVID, and I was like, "This could be the night." This could be the night where it just ends.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
But no, Mitch. I think Mitch can relate to this, right? It wakes you up a little bit. After during COVID, I started being like, "There's a lot of garbage in my life, just stuff I'm cutting out, like things I don't want to be doing anymore, that I don't like, that don't move me forward." And after it, I did the cutting out. During it, I did the cutting out. And then afterwards, I was like, that was good. I'm glad I cut that out and continue to move in that direction where it's like, I want more leverage, and like Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
It's the whole book was leverage.
Yeah.
And so it's funny that, this was the book of the week, but I've been thinking about it more often. It's like, I want more leverage. I want the biggest freaking lever that I can find. And I just want to pull that thing because that's what's going to move me forward. I'm like so tired of like playing with like forks to try to lift boulders,
create a little we need someone to draw up a little caricature of like a huge lever and like Walter like jumping up to try and grab it and pull it down.
I think one of the great things about this friendship with you, Walter, is that it gave me permission to not do the things I didn't want to do. A lot of times I'd be at the house and Brenda wanted me to fix something, and it's just not who I was. And we would get in like an argument about it. But then when I kind of, the one thing, and Gary Keller and people saying, you don't have to do these things that you don't want to do. Why are you living your one and only life doing crap that you don't want to be doing? I would rather pay a plumber to fix the toilet, even if somebody else thinks it's an easy fix, so I can go get on my mountain bike and go ride, or take my son to the field and throw the frisbee, or do this, or be on this podcast. It's just, so
I'm 100% with you. And now that doesn't mean that I won't go grab my tool belt and a pencil
Dorina wants
and a hammer and make sure Dorina's in the room.
I got my tool belt.
Where would you like this picture hung? I've got the tool belt. Like, there's a time and a place for it, but if there's no audience, I'm not doing it.
I love it.
If there's no camera on, if there's no way for this thing to be recorded, you better believe I'm not doing work. Like, why?
It just doesn't. It really it's neat. Like, this journey has been fun because things that always felt right to me are now coming to fruition. Like, I can say, hey, get a handyman to fix that. And like, we had a plumber at our house yesterday, and it's like, I don't feel any, I came in from riding my bike, from doing mountain biking, and Brenda was meeting with this guy who was fixing something in our house. And it's like, that's the way I want it. And I don't have any guilt from that, because my father could handle a hammer, but I never saw him do it. He just would always get people, and then he was working, and he was making himself a multimillionaire. So, and playing the guitar too. He likes to play guitar. So that was part of his activities. Why not?
But that's the point. Like, you never saw him swing a hammer.
Right.
Like, he wasn't teaching you that stuff. He wasn't like, hey, here's how you do this. Exactly. He was saying, here's how you evaluate a deal. Here's how like, go buy some real estate, Mike. Like, you should do it.
I remember specifically painters in our house, painting, doing the painting. I'm not doing that. And I love that attitude.
Well, it's also that scaling thing too. I mean, you become your own bottleneck if you're doing it all yourself. I mean, I grew up, very different. I grew up in basically, everything you did yourself. Most of you didn't really have a choice. Right. Yeah, exactly. So you get that.
I was doing my own oil changes at 16 years old, because that was the cool thing to do.
Yeah. So it's great because it creates a good work ethic, which I think you need to have a work ethic. Even if you're not the one swinging the hammer, you still need a good work ethic in terms of building a business, running a business. Even delegating, managing, all that. But yeah, when you're trying to do all those like day-to-day things, you become your own bottleneck. So
right.
You can't be the ama.
Yeah. Another side of it is the whole philosophy of circulating money. So like, when I get a plumber in the house, I'm giving him money, and maybe he needs that money, and maybe he's going, and And I feel good about that. I circulate money, and we believe, I know the three of us believe, that if you put out money 10 times, the amount of money comes back to you. So,
Easily.
I'm
Especially in
not
marketing.
perfect. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that was too expensive. But most of the time I'm like, yeah, pay a man what he's worth and let it, just go.
But that's a beauty in itself. Like the richest guys I know evaluate the value of somebody, right? Like they're like, that person overcharged me, that person undercharged me, and I'll like they'll even it out and be like, hey, you know what?
That's
Either
true.
I
That's
owe
really,
them
that's
or
really
I owe
true.
them, right?
Yeah. We won't use them
So,
again. We won't use them
yeah,
again if they overcharge.
I'll use them again. Yeah,
Yeah.
he took care of me. I'll use them
Yeah,
again. There's a commitment. There's a
exactly.
loyalty there.
I
Right.
say I spend a lot. I say a lot to Brenda. Somebody was dollar wise, penny wise, dollar foolish. Because we have a bunch of rental properties. So if you treat me well, I'm going to keep using you for the long term. So
Yes.
why?
Yep.
All right, you got a couple of pennies today, but you didn't get the dollars for the next 10 years. Like today's the plumber yesterday. Brenda's been looking for a plumber. She said to him at the end, she's like, "You're my guy. I need a plumber. You're my guy." And I was like,
Yeah.
that's perfect, because we've been
And-
looking for one for a while.
That seems to be the
I've owned-
plight of the Northeast, huh? Plumbers always
Oh,
struggling.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the worst. I've owned real estate since 2008, but I've owned rental properties since 2013. First, a month of 2013 was my first one. And these last 8 years that I've been managing property and, bringing in contractors, I would always say that, like, hey, I'm going to be big. Like I let them know, like, I'm going to be big. I'm going to keep buying.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a lot, and I'm going to be your best client. And sometimes they look at me and be like, yeah, but this is what it costs. And I'm like, I know this guy is overcharging me. Like, what's going on? Like, why is he charging me more than like the guy right before him? And over time, I realized some of these guys, they don't want that steady little work. What they want is that big kitchen job or that big, sewer rip out everything job that I'm not doing, right?
Yeah,
I'm not doing those jobs.
Right.
But they're charging me as if they were doing that work. And some other guys will be, so like, they're just like, man, I hope you use me next time. Like, I love the idea of working with you for a very long time. And like, they see that vision. If I say, you're my guy, they're like, boom, like they'll show up whenever, right? Because there's this, like, they see the value in that consistency.
Yeah.
And
I add to that, I pay them quickly. Like,
always.
I don't care if they give me like 30-day terms. I'm like, here, pay, because I want them to know that I learned that from a custom home builder. He paid all his subs every Friday, no matter what the hell was going on in his business, every Friday, so that when the market got tight, his subs would always show up at his projects.
So we did the same thing. It was every Friday. We said, when we were running the property management company, I told all my subs, they were like, oh, we just finished the work today. Can you pay us? And it's like, dude, I got to go inspect. Here's how it works. You get it in before Thursday. I'll make sure somebody inspects it. I'll make sure you're getting paid on Friday. If you're not in by Thursday, look, I got to run a business. I'm not going to have my accountant go and write a check to you every time you go and accomplish work without having gotten inspected at first. There's got to be both sides of this.
I've learned that lesson.
You get over there and like a molding not on the wall. It's like, come on, man, one molding.
Yeah.
Like,
we had a painter didn't finish, and then we paid him, and then $3,000 to the universe.
Yeah,
it's great painter too. That's what sucked. He was really good.
And that's the thing that you've just got to inspect. And you've got to have systems. You got to have a consistency, but paying them on time, like creating such a way where you can pay them on time, as long as it's some sort of like consistency. That's respect. Like, there's respect for that in the business, because there's so many people out there. Like, you don't have to try hard to be amazing in this business. Like, there's just so many assholes out there. There's so many idiots,
Totally agree.
Cheap people, ignorant people, just like mean people. Like, there's so many of them. It's like, dude, we could just walk through and buy a property. People are like, oh my God, you're amazing. It's like, oh, I'm just being a decent human being.
We were at the 3 unit in North Kingstown this morning because one of the breakers tripped. She had no hot water. And I was just thinking,
easy one.
We got this one. Well, actually, we reset it and it tripped again. So I got to get an electrician over there, but that's fine. But anyway, so we bought this place from a landlord who was not nice. Yeah, right.
Anyway,
not nice, and kept asking for cash and coming there and wouldn't do anything for those people. Boy, did he make us look good. We showed up, we put a new roof, we put 2 new furnaces, we put electric system. We got a really good deal on the property. So I'm not saying we overpaid for it. We just knew we were going to have projects in there, but they love us. Day one, we came in and put a brand new roof on. It took only 1 day. And so the second floor, now it's not leaking, right?
Yep.
You're a rock star. Yeah.
I love doing the exteriors of a project first. I mean, obviously, logically, that's what makes sense anyway. Seal the building up so there's no rain, no water.
Yeah.
So it's like the first step regardless. But
Yeah.
I love like doing that because the neighbors come out and they're like, when did you close? Like, when did you buy? I'm like, I bought it today. And the roof's coming off. The vinyl's going on.
Awesome. That was so much fun. We had a roofing company put this roof on in 1 day. So I drove
That's
up
awesome.
in the morning and they were stripping the roof. And I had to go to like Walmart or Home Depot, which is right past this place. On my way back, I see like 8 guys up there with like big sheets of plywood, just like throwing them around. I was like, what is going on? Then I had to come back for some other reason, same road. And next thing you know, the beautiful blue, we picked blue for the shingle roof. It did such a nice job. I was like, I can't believe it. In 1 day, this house pops. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That's how it's done. You plan it out right. You have the right crew go in there and you can accomplish these things pretty quickly. And it's nice to see the look in the neighborhood. I've only sold one house that didn't look good when I sold it. And it took the person who bought it like a year and a half to go and do the vinyl. And when we closed, I was like, look, I'm not going to sell this to you if you're not going to do the vinyl. Right. I was just very clear with them that, because my neighborhood, right? Like I owned all these houses over here. So I was like, this is a thing that has to be done. I haven't gotten to it. Yeah. But if I do the vinyl, the price is going up 30,000, just because I got to go and manage this thing. And I got to go talk to somebody. And he's like, oh, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. He's a Jamaican guy from Boston. And it took him a freaking year and a half.
So wrong. We also did some really nice things. I told you we had to change the electrical service because they have like fuses. Yeah. And
wow, it's old school.
The lady didn't
put the penny behind the fuse, and then
I actually looked at a property that's got fuses, and I told the guy, I'm like, you do realize if I buy this from you, I have to redo the electrical, right? Like that's not cheap. Like the price you want doesn't make sense based on the electrical alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but she had no, and Brenda's a mom, and this woman's a mom, and she's got no plugs on her countertop. Like, how you just take for granted.
GFIs. Those should be GFIs, Mike.
Well, yeah, we did GFIs, but I'm just saying there was none on the counter. Like, so for her toaster was like on the floor. And like when we first went in there, because the heating system didn't work, she had like extension cords. This was like a safety issue. Extension cords to like these big electric heaters, in the middle of the living room. But we took out her furnace, gave a brand new, not high efficient, but efficiency furnace, and then put plugs there. And Brenda was like, I just feel so good that I've added to this woman's life and made the quality, because it's like a husband and wife with 2 kids in high school. Really, you want people suffering through that kind of thing, so it was awesome.
We had this one building that we picked up. I think this one might have been one of my flips. It was a 4-family, and we had one line running to each apartment. Like one electrical line running to each unit, which means you can run the fridge, right? That's all you get.
Right.
And this was running all the bedrooms. Each bedroom had like one outlet.
Yeah.
Thank God, because if you had too many outlets, they'd probably, flip that thing every day. And so when we went in and renovated, we were like, we're redoing the electrical anyway with fuses. So we've got to go run new lines. Like there's no way we're going to be able to operate this building without like coming over every day, flicking this switch.
Exactly.
And it's gonna be a fire issue, right? Like it's a 15 gauge wire going. That was a 20 gauge wire going to the roof. Like that. That's it.
It's getting hot.
Yeah. Like come on. And the only one that obviously was taken care of was the first floor. The first floor had like 20 lines coming out of it. It was all wired properly, but the top 2 floors, obviously, they're the ones that they don't want to run anything through. So we ran, a chase up the chimney, ran all the wires, and you make it safe. But like the
prices, I don't think you said, what'd you say, $5-6 grand for when we did the services, they were like $1,700 a piece.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all in who you know. Like that was it was a 5 unit service. We had to
Yeah.
run a whole new line to the building, and that was I want to say 5,500 for that piece.
It feels so good when you walk in there because when we first walked in, it was like in a hallway. Like it's not like a big hallway, but you open a door, and behind the door was the three services with all the
The meters.
fuses and all that
Oh, okay.
crap, and we're just like really. And after this electrician, who was right on the same street, came over, they put in 3 new boxes. We got like doors, and just close it up. Looks sharp now, so that's cool. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, you got to upgrade these systems. Now,
Yeah.
I will say that you don't actually make any money from upgrading these systems.
No.
There is no financial value to doing electrical, plumbing, even the roof. Like you literally make nothing for doing
I mean, you don't
systems.
make cash flow, but you do add value to that property because I mean, you can
Right.
sell that property at a better
you sell
dollar than if it needs all the electrical work.
Or refi. Actually,
Not on this market, Mitch.
I'm just
Well,
saying, let's
valid
say you
point,
refi.
valid.
If you get a hard money lender and you buy the property, and they also give you money for the repairs, and then after you've done like the 3 electrical systems, the 2 furnaces, the roof, that's when you get the appraiser in. That's a perfect burr. So
So it works on a refi totally,
Yeah.
because you can tell the appraiser that you went and did those things. And for them, they're like, yeah, that adds value. But for the market itself, absolutely nothing. Like as long as the house is like swept, if you sweep it and paint it, then it doesn't matter. Like,
Yes.
oh, well, I guess we'll fix the electrical eventually, or I guess we'll update the heater eventually.
Right.
Like they don't even see how expensive those things are. But if you sweep, the basement and you paint the walls, like
Well,
people
all right,
come
so
through and they're like, wow, this is a fresh basement.
we bought that one for 200,000, a 3-unit in North Kingstown, and I think now with all the stuff, we could easily get 350 for it. Easily
Nice.
in North Kingstown. There's not a lot of places to rent, and we're not selling, but I'm just saying that could be the market appreciation because it's like you said, it's crazy.
It's the market appreciation,
Yeah.
and then you've done some value add.
Yeah.
And the next 5 years is going to bring another minimum 25% value to that building. So it's just going to keep going up.
Let's keep going. And my mortgages. Now we are out of the hard money, so we've got a nice low mortgage on it, and we're just paying it down monthly. It's fun to get. It's weird when you're an investor because it's actually fun to get your bill for the mortgage because you look right away.
You can watch the amortization.
Exactly.
It's so nice being out of hard money. Like, and I love my hard money lenders. They have they have blessed me. They've allowed me to buy property.
No, I totally agree. They're definitely a place for the hard money lenders. That's not.
Yes.
But once you what's it called? Stabilize the property and refinance. That's when then you start
It
to
feels
see.
good.
Yeah, that's so much fun. It's free
We have our last hard money loan. I want to say at the end of this month being paid off. We're doing our a flip. Well, we're about to take on more hard money anyway. We're going to do some more flips, but like for a short period of time, there will be no hard money loans. And it's like, wow, like that's cool.
Yeah.
Everything's being amortized, getting paid down. Like it's really, really nice.
It's cool.
I want to say
Such a
our
good
mortgage.
feeling.
It is.
Feeling.
I want to say our mortgage is somewhere around 14,000 a month, something like that. So a big chunk of that is pay down. It's principal. I want to say it's $2,500 a month every month. That's just getting paid down. That previously wasn't. Previously that wasn't getting paid down.
Check this out. We have a property that we paid $670 for. So I think the mortgage was like $510, something like that when we got it. I mean, and that mortgage is now below. It's only been like 2 years, but it's below 500,000, which is kind of fun. You're like, wow, look at this. It's below 500,000. But meanwhile, the property has gone up in value. It's probably worth 1.1 million. So
Nice.
that's
amazing.
That's just insane.
That's the thing that's what we were talking about with Mitch at the beginning of this is you got to get into those investments that are going to do well. They're going to appreciate, they're going to cash flow. and just go all in. I've always been concerned with Boston, concerned with Newport, concerned with Narragansett, or the Cape, right? Anything that appreciates really high. I've always been like, well, I'm staying away from that because I couldn't see the cash flow on them, right? So I'd be like, it doesn't cash flow, so I'm not going to make that investment. But now as we have more cash flows, the business gets to that point of cash flow. We're like, we could take on those appreciation plays because it doesn't really matter. Like if it breaks even, the rest of the portfolio's got this.
Right. And so also back to that kind of mind shift and what you're thinking about. When I started this journey, I was buying like $250,000, $300,000 properties. And now we're routinely looking at properties over $1 million. And
that's the graduation of it.
Yeah, exactly. You're just sort of like, and it's a learning process too, because you said it, I praise my hard money lenders. I love it. But finding like where to get the money is now something that's in my tool belt. I now know who to talk to, where to go, how it works. And it's awesome.
Leverage. It goes right back to leverage. Yeah. This is what I was going to think. I was thinking about Rockefeller, what he said. He said, the banks, he said, you can't get rich without the banks. He's like, you've got to build a good relationship with the banks. He said, you trade $1 for $1, you've got $1. You trade $100 for $100, that's 100. If you do it with 1,000, that's 1,000. So you're much better off going and getting the 1,000 and trading it and building that piece up. Well, and these numbers were obviously more back then. So now it's, go borrow the $1 million, borrow the 5 million, the 10 million, because if you don't, you're going to be trading on $10, right? Or, $10,000.
That's what Robert Kiyosaki was saying. He said he was in that book again. He said he was speaking to a bunch of mortgage brokers, and he said to them, I want to thank you for helping me get rich. And he says, and they were like, wait a second, you can't buy stock. We would never loan you money to buy stocks. It's like, yeah, that's not what happened. You loaned me money so I could buy real estate. That real estate cash flowed, and I took that cash flow and I bought stocks with it. I'm like, brilliant. That's right. So good. It's just so good.
Tailed on the snowball.
That's right. It's what will the bank leverage? Okay, I'll go and I'll buy that asset that cash flows the bank's willing to leverage. And then from that point, I'll take the cash flow, I'll invest in something that they're not willing to leverage.
Exactly.
And take
even if you get like a home equity line on one of your properties and then use that to go get other properties,
Which reminds me of Solana. We were talking about that earlier. I got a buddy who went and did exactly that on Solana at the beginning of the year.
Really?
And
nice job.
He keeps, every so often we'll call, and he used to be one of my students, used to be part of our, when South Coast Capital started doing group, like get-togethers, he was one of the first guys to show up, like 5 years ago, when it was just two or three of us in the room. We're like, hey, let's do a meetup. There's only a couple people here, but he was one of the original guys, and I helped him buy a bunch of real estate. Then I helped him sell a bunch of real estate. He had that cash, and he started getting into crypto. And man, he's just like, I might make $11 million. Like, he's like, I really think that I can get there this year through Solana. Awesome. Like just from one investment that he's just pile driving in.
Awesome.
We talked the other day, and he was like, man, like I'm going and borrowing against what I've got. Borrowing against what I've got. And I was like, okay, like we got to be careful with this. This is a volatile asset that could go up, it could go down, it could swing
down. Yeah.
And I was like, say you borrowed 50%, like crypto is known for dropping 50%. Like this may be a dangerous scenario. And he just told me, he's like, no, man, I'm thinking 25%. Like I think all I need is 25% to hit that goal. Nice. But this is a guy, when I met him, like he had, 150,000. Maybe 5 years ago when I met him, he just had 150 grand, and he was looking to do real estate and, try to get that up. And when we'd sold everything, I think he had maybe $500,000 in his pocket, right? Because we built up and then we sold, and he did really well on it. But what he's done with it is just, people could say he got lucky, but he's like steelily determined, like just an absolutely determined person and focused.
There's probability and chance to everything. But I'm sure you also did a hell of a lot of research and picked his spots.
A lot of research.
In the end, that's the thing. That's why people are scared to do things. So there is no guarantees. There's zero guarantees. All you can do is put the odds in your favor, and that's the goal. And when you do good research and, make quote unquote good judgments, you're just finding situations where the probabilities are leaned in your favor.
That's it. Back to Annie too. Thinking in bets.
They get in
Yeah.
bets.
Making him
And he
bets.
sent me so many articles on Solana that I personally haven't gone and read them all. But he has all the information. It's like Mike with Tesla.
Did you buy?
Not yet. Let's see.
Mike, I don't know. Like, I feel like Walter had this ultimate Solana resource. He's been holding out on us. We both
right.
could have been in Solana 6 months ago before it mooned.
This is my fault. So
I
I've been
to,
getting this information, this feedback, and I've been like, it's not my thing. Not my thing. I'm gonna go invest in my business here.
I saw a tweet, similar story, the other day, and the guy said, it's on my Tesla feed, and he's like, when a $100,000 investment in Tesla becomes $10 million and you're still buying. That was his quote. And I was like, dude, that is so freaking awesome. He must have bought like 2016 or 2017, $100,000. Now I don't know who the guy is, but now he's got 10 million and he's still buying Tesla. That's just like your guy with his, he's committed to it. Yeah, it's awesome.
If you can catch and this is what Warren says, this is what Sam Zell says, if you can catch the 10-year horizon of a company and you can see that this company is going to a massive scale, even if it's not there yet, but the management is in place, the management has the right mindset, because that's what it all comes down to is the management. Management is 70% of a decision when it comes to an asset. So if you're looking and saying, okay, because we would be nothing without our property manager, right? Like, we could acquire property all day, but if they don't manage it well, like we're screwed, we're in trouble. So the management is 70% of an acquisition. And if you can see that management's going to take this thing 10 years out and it's going to grow to absolutely crazy exponential levels, and that's what they're talking about, that's what they're focused on, that's what they've done it in small things, they can probably be trusted in big things.
Right.
Then you've got the investment. And that's
how come Warren hasn't bought Tesla? What's his
problem?
Doesn't see it.
Well, here's the other thing.
He's old school. He's leaving railroads and oil.
Yeah, oil. He invested in Chevron. I was like, really? This is recent, like this year.
He doesn't see it.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand it. He doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing with Warren. He's 84 years old, 85
90.
Years old.
Oh, he's 90.
He's 90. So he's looking at the world from a very different lens than he was looking at it when he was growing.
Right. I just find that with my dad. My dad was a risk taker and did a lot of really cool and crazy things. He owned a bar in Providence and they sponsored concerts, the Civic Center stuff. It's just awesome stuff. But he's very conservative now, Yeah.
It happens.
And I don't think that Warren understands, and that's okay, right? But I don't think he understands, because the future is very intangible, right? Yeah. It's very unreal. It's very a lot of it is he doesn't invest in the tech stuff. He doesn't invest in the future.
Except for Apple. Apple's his biggest holding because it
accidentally. It was not intentionally his biggest holding. He invested risk, low risk amounts, and it just went and did very well. Awesome. So sometimes those assets just blow up in your account and you look like a genius. It's like, no, I put risk value into that and it just showed up.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool when that happens. Like to us, we talked about Novonix and that one going up in Lake. And my brother and my father, they invested in Moderna. That's a Massachusetts company. And and I think my dad had it 30 or something. I don't know, something like that, but it's over $400 now. It's just sometimes the most obvious. You're like, wait, everybody needs to get a vaccine, and this is a company doing the vaccines, and I'm like, Mike Shine, I'm too smart for that. That's too easy.
Yeah, no, I run into that trap.
Just too
easy. When it's too obvious, it's like this is the sucker's play. When it's that obvious, like
Zoom. Zoom is another one. I could have jumped into Zoom early. It was every freaking day I'm on Zoom and I didn't buy.
I'm telling you, the deals that seem most obvious are the worst deals. Those are the ones I miss all the freaking time. I'm a sucker for complexity. I'm like, this would make total sense if this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. Bring it on. That's the project I want.
That's the one.
And then you got these other guys who will come in, buy a house for $350,000. Put in $150,000, sell it for $750,000, right? The guys who love the luxury market crush these deals all day, but I'm like, I'm going to go do 6 flips to make that same amount of money because I like the complexity of it, you know?
I get it.
You know, for the luxury guys, it's like, we've just got to really spend 50 grand in the kitchen here. We're going to be fine. You know, granite everywhere. Everything's granite. It's going to be okay.
So,
And it just makes me, you know, think, like, is it that I am obsessed with complexity and just missing out on how simple life really is, on how simple, you know, these products and money actually is? And like, I'm just focused on, show me the complex one, you know, and because it worked when I was, you know, starting out, like, give me the work that nobody else wants,
right.
and I'll go do
Right.
that, because, you know, there's no competition there. I love to be in the blue ocean. But is it now getting to the point where it's like, hold on, maybe I'm so talented that things are actually easy.
Easy.
You know, maybe I should just take the easy
I feel
stuff.
like we need a support group, like the 3 of us.
Because I think we are the support group.
Right. But I mean, we should, I mean, I know we text each other all the time, but maybe when we see something, we should, so obvious and easy, our first reaction shouldn't be to reject it. It'll be to like send it to, you know, the other 2 and say, am I missing an easy opportunity here? Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is a stronger cash position, because there's so many opportunities. Like, I cannot believe the amount of opportunities that come across my desk every day that could be 10x opportunities. Yeah. And I just look at them, I'm like, man, like, I've already got this money earmarked. Why do I not have more money sitting there?
That's in the book too. He said that Robert Kiyosaki and Kim, for like 5 years, just held money waiting for the opportunity, and then they started buying. So I think he said something like 89 to 94, they weren't buying, they were just stacking cash, and then they went in and their friend did not. And then at the end of the real estate run, the guy bought like a duplex. And it's like, well, you know, it was good that you did it because you did something, but we told you 5 years ago to get in. So yeah.
And you could have been rich by now. It's
right, exactly.
My mentor says the same thing. He says, Walter, now's the time for cash. He says, hold it, buy it, get it, store it, build the relationships to get access to it, do whatever it takes to get access to more cash right now.
Right.
And, you know, he said, stay in the market, you know, pay attention to the market, we never take our eyes off the market because you'll miss it. But like, be hunting, putting in offers, be out there, be aggressive, but you don't have to buy anything. He said, you really don't have to buy anything. You just have to get into a cash position that's really strong.
Nice
and
job.
When you see the opportunity, he said, throw the spear. You know, I see the opportunity, like, go all in, go hard. And he said, my biggest regret is when I was buying everything, I didn't buy more.
Right.
You know,
right.
His wife tells him, he's like, you've got enough. You're doing fine. Like, you got plenty. But he can't help it. He's like, I see what I could have done. You know, I see what I could have done if I'd moved faster, if I'd thought bigger, if I hadn't, you know, been overwhelmed. Maybe if I brought a couple extra people on to manage things, you know, I could have been 10 times bigger. But, you know, I was overwhelmed. I got overwhelmed with what I had because I just wasn't thinking at the level I'm thinking now. And like now, those opportunities are not there. So what happens is these are cycles, go into a cash position. We could be doing this for years. You know, we really could.
I also think that I'm a real believer in that you get inspiration and people say things to you that just are sort of off the cuff or in passing. Maybe you're in the market and someone says something to you and you get the message. And Walter, we had one of your friends say something to us about low income housing, and he sent us an email. We didn't do anything with it. And then we had lunch. You were there too, Mitch. And he said it again. And then I went to lunch with him and he said it again. And I'm riding, I swear to God, today, I was riding in the woods and I suddenly had an epiphany that I said, wow, how many times? I think he told me 4 times. How many times is he going to say this to me and have me miss the message? So I wrote on my notes for today that I'm finding that email and I'm going to research this project because it's exactly what you said. It's a different way of having money so that you can go out and get more properties. And I'm not talking about a duplex. I'm talking about getting 200 apartments and having the federal government pay for that, that opportunity. I mean, think about that. That would take us to to a
in the
new
Midwest.
level. Yeah.
You know, this is the other thing. You know, we're down here in Tampa. Me and Darina have been talking. We may not stay down here, but we may actually go back to Massachusetts where we have a stronger foothold and invest where the real estate just makes more sense. And like we have the syndicators, you know, all these guys are our friends, and they don't
Right.
touch some of these cities down here. They don't touch Orlando. They don't touch Tampa. Like where they invest is Connecticut, Kentucky. They invest in
Right.
Georgia. They invest in North Carolina, South Carolina,
Alabama.
You got it. You know,
Yeah.
they're not in these hot markets. They're going to where the cash flow is.
I'm excited that I'm going to that ultimate partnership thing in Dallas, because the last time I went in Boston, there were like 200 or 300 people there. And some of them are just, people who've paid like 40, 50,000 for like a guru to speak to them. But in the room, there were some serious players that had, over 100 units, and they were buying in all those areas that you were talking about. So
Yep.
it's good
That-
networking,
It seems to be where the money's going, and these guys are smart. So I don't question that they do the research. They're obsessed. They've been at that level for a long time. I'm getting the information secondhand from people who have done their time, done their due diligence. So
you make enough money if you're the passive investor in a syndication, like if you do something with Matt Pacini.
All relative. It's all relative to your goals. If you're looking to double your money in a year, no. If you're looking to double it in 5 years, yes.
Gotcha.
So it's
I just look at opportunity cost. That's my.
But then there's the education too.
Yeah.
Like working with somebody like Matt, you're going to learn a lot. And he's probably my favorite syndicator of all of the people I've reviewed deals on. It's either him or Steve Breton. And I think Tim Bratz.
I was going to say Steve. Yeah.
But I just know Steve and Matt way better. I've got a deeper relationship with those guys, and I love the way they
evaluate. You invested with them yet?
I have not. And that's because of the return on investment. I am obsessed with doubling my money way faster. If I can double it in a month, I'm going to do it. Right. Yeah. Like that's constantly my focus is how do I double this nut a little bit quicker?
Gotcha.
Same reason I haven't done any LPs.
But that's the goal. Like the goal is to get to these guys, DSTs where we're just 1031ing our active properties into passive properties, not paying taxes on the 1031 and letting them operate.
Is that your goal now, or is that your goal in 20 years?
That's 20 years, Mike. Come on.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, I feel the same way. Like I see these opportunities and you're like, wow, that's really exciting that you're part of this thing, but I'd rather be Matt.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a passive investor. It's just not where I am in my earnings.
I agree 100%. My mentor, he's always held everything himself. No other partners, no other investors.
Awesome.
And I've seen guys like Peregrine, right, who have partners in $100 million portfolio, but then you look at the percentage of ownership and the net worth is the same.
Gotcha.
But a much smaller team, much smaller this workload. So it's this balance of how big do you want to be. And I love Peregrine. I love how many jobs they create, how many opportunities they create for people. So like I get their model and I know why they do what they do, because they really are. They're about their family.
Much more scalable.
They are scalable and they can move faster. They can move and do bigger, cooler things. And my mentor is stuck in a smaller niche, but financially they're making the same. He's good with it.
Awesome.
So it's
moving back up to Massachusetts. I thought you liked the nice warm weather down there.
I do. So but the Russian princess has to be taken care of. So
wow.
I told her, I was like, look, I'll go back. I'm just not gonna ever be there for a winter. So
yeah.
Snowbirds.
That's perfect.
We did the full-time thing down here. We gave it a shot. Like we'll stay till spring, but that's like I think I get it now. Like why people go back and forth. It totally makes sense to me, especially as an investor.
I mean, I get that. Also, though, someone that's lived here full time for a long time.
Yeah,
I say the same thing to everybody, and I said it to my brother. And he was here for 8 months, and then he went back up to New York, and he's actually talking about shooting back down for the winter. And I was like, listen, it doesn't matter whether you move to Florida, Ohio, or freaking California. If you've been somewhere your whole life, and then you go somewhere and you don't stay there I used to say a year, but really I think it's 2. If you don't stay there for 2 years, you never
Yeah.
even gave it a chance, because you
Totally.
can't recreate 20 plus years of a network of knowing people. Like, it was a year and a half before I remotely felt like Florida was even close to being home. Where, like, I remember the first time where, like, I ran into someone I knew at the supermarket in Florida, and it was like the most exciting thing ever for me, because, like, you miss stuff like that. Like, you leave this network of, 20, 30 years, and now it's like you don't know anybody, and now you're rebuilding, and it's just like that takes time, and you can't replicate that in a few months. So that's always my opinion.
Yes, that is 100% what she's going through.
Good to know.
Got to stay for me, 2 years.
I am I'm a new networker. Like, that's what I do. I go into a new market. I meet everybody. I can build that very quickly. And for her, she's like, oh, it took me 10 years to get this. And me, I'm like, dude, like, give me 10 months. Like, I'll be fine.
But I mean, that is true. I just thought of that. Like,
you
got to make new friends and all that stuff. And I mean, you guys are focused on the business and all that. And I didn't think about that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know you've done some networking locally. I mean, I see you out there with Jason and some other people, whatever, right? Like, you've made friends, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, we got to go. You got to go on the friend request. Darina needs to build up the girl power.
That's what I feel like. Like, I've got to go and find Tampa girls that want to go ride horses, and then she'll be fine.
Told you, or move
back to Massachusetts, right?
Ellington.
But where's
Wellington? Horse country of the East Coast.
You're on Mitch's side. Very affluent people. You'll meet.
There you go.
Plenty of people. I had a friend.
We hang out with Mitch, Doug.
There you go.
I had a friend who played polo.
Elliot, yeah.
He would fly his horses up and down the coast every year for polo. So that's she gets the horses, and you get plenty of people you could hang out with.
I'm sure there's some equestrian focused cities on the West Coast.
Not the horses. It's like she wants the people. For me, I'm like full of people already. Like, I've got all my friends right here on this call. Like, we're good.
I mean, but when you move somewhere new, you still need to make local friends. You know what I mean? You can't live your life virtually.
Or at least I've got, a nice network down here of, I can call these guys up. We go to the gym. Like, we could do whatever we want. I'm just focused on what I'm doing right now. That's why I'm not out socializing. But, like, I have that network. I build it so easily.
Darina should start a woman's chapter. Tampa invest her woman's chapter. She can play off the invest her group, create the Tampa chapter. She could be a power player in Southwest Florida.
Love it. I love it.
And make friends.
Yeah.
I'm with it. Guys, I got to jump. I got a book consultation with Jen's Pens that I totally spaced out on. So.
Awesome.
Right on.
Mitch, close us out. What's your phrase?
Organize and collect.
Mike Shine, what is your phrase?
Massive income from passive income.
And the point is not to work. It is to generate income. Cheers to your success, my friends.
Bye,
See you guys
guys.
next week.
Later.